So joining us now from North Carolina is a guy who knows this deal probably better than anyone else in the country. His name is Mick Mulvaney. And he was the acting White House Chief of Staff from January 2nd, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. All right. 6 months before the election, actually 8 months before. No, yeah, 8 months before. He took over from John Kelly, who Trump did not have a good relationship with. All right, you are now on News Nation. You formerly analyzed the news at CBS, and you are the head of Actum, a consulting firm. Do you sleep? Do you get any sleep at all? I mean, this is, you're more busy than I am.
Yeah, I write columns for the Hill newspaper and the New York Post. No, I sleep on airplanes, Bill. You know what that's like.
Wow, I don't go on airplanes anymore because I'm afraid of Buttigieg. So I'm afraid I don't go. I just laid it out how it's going down. Did I make any mistakes?
No, in fact, I'm sitting here going, why does he need me? He's got it. He's got it just about right. Down to the point about, Donald Trump is his own chief of staff. It's a very flat organization. It's the president and everybody else. But your robot Stephen Miller is spot on. Here's the only thing I could add to that for some color. Folks ask me, "Oh my goodness, he's taking so many TV people." No, he's not. He's taking people who are good on television. Why is that? You've just hit the nail on the head on how it's going to work in terms of getting the policy in place. Miller's going to pick up the phone. Maybe Mike Waltz calls down. The folks inside the White House will be setting the policy. The folks out in the agencies will be the implementers. And this is the critical part, the people selling it on television. Donald Trump likes people who are on TV. So Miller's going to pick up the phone and say, look, we're doing this on immigration. Homan will be sitting with him there. And then Kristi Noem will say, okay. And she'll go out on television and sell it. The same will be true with Sean Duffy at DOT. Good on TV. Hegseth, good on TV. Linda McMahon, really good on TV. So I think you're going to see this sort of this bifurcated leadership, whether it be somebody in the White House and somebody out in the executive branch, and together they're going to be running the agencies.
Yeah. Okay. So you and I are simpatico on that. Now you got along with Trump, from what I understand, as chief of staff, right?
That's because I knew I wasn't the president, which I think some of my predecessors struggled with.
All right. So let's talk about that. So Kelly, the general, didn't get along with Trump, and the allegation is that Kelly didn't go along with what Trump wanted, and there was strife there. Is that pretty much what happened?
I think that's fair. I think John, and he said this publicly, I'm talking about General Kelly now, saw himself as a check against the president. And, I've got some fundamental disagreements with that. The check against the executive branch is the legislative branch and the judicial branch, not the chief of staff. I wasn't there to sort of, double check Donald Trump or make sure he wasn't doing something. That's not the job. The job is to try to make the president successful. Kelly never saw that. I lost a lot of respect for him when he decided that he was the adult in the room. And I, kept wanting to remind folks that no one voted for John Kelly. They voted for Donald Trump. No one voted for me. They voted for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. And that Susie Wiles, I think, gets that. Susie Wiles, I don't know her. I've heard the same things about her that you have. I've talked to some former chiefs of staff who did meet her. We had a dinner last week, and I was out of town and couldn't make it. And all the reports about her are absolutely solid, spot on, good, and that she understands that she's not the president, and that's a good first step of being a good chief of staff.
Now, I know Donald Trump longer than probably most in public life. He's not a guy that you want to challenge as far as ego is concerned. So you've got to be a special type of person. I could see Kelly, big ego, General Kelly, and Trump, big ego, and they're clashing because Kelly thinks he's right, Trump thinks he's right. When there has to be occasions, felt that President Trump was making a mistake, did you challenge him?
Sure. Recognizing what you've just said is again correct. There's only room for one ego in that building, and it's the president. The chief of staff is not the chief of the president. He's the chief of the staff. But yes, the president asked me one day, he goes, Mick, tell me, how do you summarize what you do around here? I said, Mr. President, my job is to tell you the stuff that nobody else wants to tell you. and to tell you the stuff you don't want to hear. I'm the only person in the building who gets paid to do exactly that. There's a reason, Bill, that the life expectancy of a chief of staff is relatively short. Trump takes a lot of heat for having 4 chiefs of staff in his first term. Coincidentally, by the way, that's exactly the same number that Barack Obama had in his first term, 4 chiefs of staff. It's a tough job when you are the only person to tell the president stuff he doesn't want to hear. And yeah, I did it. I didn't see Kelly really do it in an effective manner. Reince tried. Reince was in a very difficult situation. I don't think that Mark Meadows did a very good job telling the president that. So I think Susie has the ability to do it clearly. I mean, you can only imagine, Bill, and I'm sorry to talk so long, there were going to be some times on the campaign where things weren't going very well. And somebody had to walk in and tell the president, Mr. President, we need to look at this a little bit differently, maybe change something up. And from everybody I've talked to said that was Susie, and he listened to her, and she was effective at it. So that
it'll be
bodes well for
interesting.
her.
But now you made me mad because you got paid for telling the president stuff he didn't want to hear. I never got paid. I tell him stuff all the time he didn't want to hear. It depends what day it is, whether he's mad at me or not. And I'm going, why didn't I get paid for that? Kelly and others say that Trump has fascist tendencies. I thought that was unfair because Kelly would never sit across me as you are. In a million years, the general wouldn't do it because he knows that he'd be challenged roundly, and I don't think he's got the heft to stand up to my questioning, but I could be wrong. But I know he won't. Did you see any kind of fascism in play here, my way or the highway? I don't respect the process of the separation of powers. Did you see any of that?
No, not a single time. And I don't believe that John did either, because I believe that if John really had seen that, and that's what oh my goodness gracious, this guy is a fascist, he wouldn't have stayed. He never would have stayed.
Well,
he
could justify it by saying, I'm trying to convince him not to be a fascist. You know how they are.
Yeah, but no, okay. But then what the next question is, why did you stay quiet for 5.5 years? And why did you come out 10 days before the election? That's a fair question to ask.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't think he's got a good answer for that.
Well, that's why he's not here. A final question for you. The press, and you didn't have to deal with the press directly. You had your own communications people, and that's what they did. But now you're a member of the press with News Nation, and you know like that. There's only one other president in history, and believe me, I know about the presidents in history, that got this kind of vilification from the media, and that's Abraham Lincoln. And that was obvious why. I mean, it was fighting in the middle of a war, and the South wanted him dead, and all that. But the press has now adopted, and they obviously got creamed in the election, but adopted that Trump is a monster. There's nothing good about him. Is there a reason why that happened?
Bill, the only way I can describe it is that Trump derangement syndrome is real. There's a bunch of people, a lot of them in the press, other in higher education, some on Wall Street, that just are irrational when it comes to Donald Trump. I mean, look at Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, who called him Hitler for several months and then went down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring.
They're just opportunists. But what's the genesis of the hatred? So you could hate Bush the younger. I mean, he got us involved with Iraq and this total fiasco over there, as some did. Some, but I've never seen the level of vitriol against any elected official, anyone.
Yeah.
Even George Wallace, when George Wallace ran for president as a third in the third party, the hatred toward Wallace wasn't as bad as the hatred toward Trump.
And the vilification of Nixon is this. Look, it's a good question. Let me see if I can give an answer that might not be what you expect. I think the reason they hate him is that he won. They loved him when they thought he was going to lose. No one gave him more free airtime in 2016 than the left-wing media. They just loved him. He was on Morning Joe on MSNBC almost every single day calling in. They loved him because they thought he was going to be a good Republican and lose. And the fact that he won, and won in large part because of them. The earned media numbers, Bill, and you know what that means. Earned media in my business politics is when you go on TV and you don't have to pay for it. You get it for free. He owned over $1 billion of earned media in 2016, and that is not all from right-leaning Fox News. More than half of it came from the left-wing outlets. So I think the reason they hate him is that he used them to win.
That's a
And
good
they'll probably
answer.
never forgive themselves for that.
That's a good answer. Particularly Jeff Zucker, who was running CNN at the time, was his buddy from The Apprentice. He made them all look really bad and small. Mr. Mulvaney, we really appreciate it. Mulvaney, Mulvaney, these Irish names, I just can't. I don't know why. Have a happy
Answered to worse,
Thanksgiving.
Bill. I've answered to much worse. So.
No, you're a smart guy. I mean, I like watching you on News Nation because you don't give the predictable, well, we'll see. You know what you're talking about, and that's why I wanted to have you on today, and we appreciate it. Have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Mick. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.